Now, I started to say this a little bit, this intro, and I attached it on to the last share that I did. But we'll start again. This is a picture of our king, the ultimate song composer, standing with a harp, or sitting with a harp in a beautiful place, in a wonderful, wonderful surrounding. And up above it is the word Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, happy are those who dwell in your house. This is one of David HaMelech's songs. What's really important to understand, I'm going to explain a principle that maybe some can understand, maybe some can't, is you have this concept of gestalt. I mentioned it before because I was a psychology student at one time. The gestalt is what you're looking at, what is the figures you're looking at, and then the background of it. So in psychiatry, they're talking about whether or not what you focus on. So in our world, the only thing that we focus on are physical things. But we have to understand that the physical is like on a stage, that in the background of it is nothing. It's something that appears, but actually it's coming from nothing, because without the nothing, then everything would be one solid individual, one solid mass, and not individuated. But the nothing allows for that background to be able to be perceived in an individual way. The name of Hashem is the name of the background. Everything is written on it. Actually, he's the writer as well. So we don't really understand that kind of writing. So just trying to get through this thought. Somebody else has some thoughts about this. What I'm trying to say in the Gestalt. It is appearance of individuated items, but inside of them and in the background of them is Hashem. Let's go through this and go to the 23rd Psalm, which we know is a very famous psalm. And here it says, number 23, he said, David composed this famed psalm during one of the most dangerous and discouraging periods of his life. He was a forlorn fugitive, fleeing from King Saul and his army. In desperation, David hid himself in a barren, desolate forest called the Yar Haret. So named because it was parched and dry. Yar Haret. So he said, like cheres, which is clay, baked earthenware, in other words, pottery. But God did not forsake David. Now, if you've ever been to En Gedi, which is in the Judea desert, it's hot there. I mean, really, really hot. The hills there look like they're 1,000 feet tall, and there are ridges up above, which could only be, I don't know if they're hotter there or less hot there. But this is a place which is really, really barren. He says it's like clay pottery. He soaked this dry forest with a moisture which had the flavor of the world to come, making even the grass and the leaves of the forest succulent and edible. This showed David that God supports and nourishes at all times, even when their chances of survival seem to be non-existent. David does not confine his inspiration to himself. He utilizes to sing for all of Israel, recalling how God provided for the entire nation throughout its 40-year sojourn in the desert, a very similar place. Mishnah Berurah, which is an Or Chaim, this Mishnah Berurah is a book of, we call it the Shulchan Aruch, part of the Shulchan Aruch, tells us, prescribes different behaviors that we can do and what's the proper way to do things. Cites a custom to recite this psalm between the Ilas and the Tilas Yadayim, that this song is said between washing of the hands before the meal and the recital of the blessing over the bread. Arizal explains the connection between this psalm, which is a famous Psalm 23, and the meal. The psalm contains 57 words. The numerical equivalent of the word zan. Zan, which means to feed or to nourish. Furthermore, it contains 227 letters, the miracle equivalent of the word bracha, or blessing. Arizal concluded that those who recite this psalm and live by its message will always be blessed with ample provisions. So he said that it was a custom, he says, I don't think we do this, of saying that after washing the hands there's a blessing that we make before we eat bread. And we have between that blessing that we make, which is called on Natilas Yadayim, on the washing or bringing water to the hands, he says, in between that you could say this psalm. Now, we have the custom that we don't speak at all. He concludes that those who recite this psalm, but any time, maybe he means that you recite this psalm and live by its message, will always be blessed with ample provisions. Very interesting. This 23rd psalm brought to us for sustenance. A song of David. Hashem is my shepherd, I shall not lack. In lush meadows he lays me down. Beside tranquil waters he leads me. He restores my soul. He leads me on paths of justice for his name's sake, for the sake of his holy name. Though I walk in the valley, overshadowed by death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my tormentors. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Hashem for long years. This is Baruch Fleischman. The Pirush here is telling us that this is a prayer, it's a song, it could be offered to God, and it contributes to sustenance, making a living.